Hello everyone and welcome to my core/abs exercise tutorial video. Today we will go through a number of exercises which target stable core exercises, unstable core exercises and ab accessory movements. My core philosophy lies on the fact that the abdominal wall is made of three muscles. The deepest one is involved in stabilizing, the one where when you go deep into the squat and I tell you to brace your core, that's the muscle that's involved in that. So if we can increase the thickness of that muscle, and that muscle does not flex or extend, it only contracts isometrically, meaning it doesn't move. If we can increase the thickness of that, then the corresponding other layers of muscles will be able to be more superficially visual than if this transverse abdominis wasn't. So that's my core philosophy, and I just want to make that clear. This is what I believe. And during these movements, when we contract, we want to make sure we're breathing out on the way up. That is really important. Core stable exercises. A plank. Simple as this. In a prone position, on our elbows, we want to squeeze our glutes and keep our chest up, brace our core and control our breathing throughout the entirety of the movement. Ensure that you control your breathing and keep your glutes squeezed throughout the movement. We can also make this weighted, as you can see here. When it gets weighted, your chest will start to want to come in and protract, but again, you have to keep your chest up, brace your core again, squeeze your glutes and make sure you keep that neutral spine across the whole of your back. That is really important. The next variation of the plank is a long lever. Now your eyes will be pointing at your elbows. This creates or moves your center of mass further back or forward depending on the position of your body. This creates more resistance against your abs. And we can also make this weighted. Ensure that you squeeze your glutes during this movement and you control your breathing. Make sure you breathe in and breathe out and squeeze that core so we can activate the muscle we want. In the push-up plank, we are just holding a push-up position just like this. Keep the core tight, squeeze the glutes, chest up, make sure you control your breathing like the rest of the movements, and ensure that you don't look straight up or look underneath you, just look just out in front of you. And again, we can make this weighted. This will force our chest to protract and fall in, but we want to counteract that by again squeezing our core tighter, keeping our chest up and our glutes squeezed, and remaining that spine in a neutral position. This exercise is a shoulder tap plank. So in a push-up position, we're gonna hold one side of the shoulder for a second and then switch to the other side, simply tapping the shoulder. You can see here that I have a band attached, and this is just another way to overload and make the exercise harder. It's just pulling me in the opposite direction. Now we can also make this exercise weighted. Again, this gets harder because now we're on 3 limbs instead of 4. You have to make sure that you squeeze your core and control it throughout the movement. Keep your glutes squeezed, your chest up, and make sure you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, holding this position and limiting the amount of movement your hips move throughout the movement. This is a dynamic bird dog plank. We can see that as I move the ball left, my right leg comes up. As I move my right arm out, my left leg comes up. This creates 2 points of contact on the floor. You have to ensure that you control your breathing, you brace your core, and this takes your attention away from just balancing or, performing a plank. So this helps get through the movement quicker and make it more enjoyable than just staying on a normal plank. Make sure you roll the ball out or the kettlebell, whatever you want to do, all the way out and then all the way in. Switch hands and continue. Make sure you lift the corresponding leg up as you do this. Now let's move on to the unstable core exercises. With a med ball out in front of you, in a sort of a push-up plank position, we want to hold and grasp the med ball just on its outer skirts and just gently move it around in any direction. This makes your core react to this, and if you can control your breathing and keep that neutral position, this will really burn. It's a really good exercise increasing core strength. In the Swiss ball plank, on our elbows, we are going to be rotating the ball right or clockwise and anti-clockwise, forward, left and back. Another dynamic movement. Your core will react to this, and if you can control your breathing and keep that neutral position, this will be a really effective exercise in increasing that transverse abdominis strength. Now we got 3 med balls. In a push-up plank, we are going to hold this position and move the front med balls left, right, wherever you want to make this an unstable exercise. And you can see here, I'll drop down to my elbows, just another variation here, moving it left, right, keeping that core braced, those glutes squeezed, keeping that chest up, breathing properly. Again with the 3 med balls, this time we're doing a planked press. So we're going down on our elbows and then pushing up with the opposite limb. In this exercise, we want to try and limit the amount of movement at the hip when we are switching between limbs, as this will give us an indication of your level of core strength. Remember to control your breathing, keep that neutral position in your back, your chest up, and you'll be flying through these movements. Now this is a weighted shoulder tap bird dog plank. As I tap my left shoulder, I lift my right leg up. This creates 2 limbs of support and an unstable surface. Ensure that you limit hip movement when you're switching between limbs. Keep your core braced and your chest up. So left arm comes up, right leg comes up. Left arm comes up, left leg goes back. In the ring plank, setting up rings at about hip height, we want to externally rotate our shoulders and lock out our elbows. And we want to hold this position just like any other plank. Control our breathing, keep our chest up and our elbows locked out throughout the whole movement. This is a really challenging exercise, but really effective. Now again with the ring plank, but this time we're doing it weighted. This gets really hard and it puts more pressure on that transverse abdominis. So you have to squeeze your core harder, control your breathing, lock out your elbows more. This is one of my favorite and best core exercises. It's really challenging, and you can work up to this one using the other exercises. And this dynamic ring plank, really challenging exercise. Holding the rings out in front of us and then moving them out to our side and just continuing this range of motion. This is a really challenging exercise as well, as the rings are unstable and you are moving throughout its range of motion. So you have to ensure that you squeeze your core, control your breathing, keep that chest up, and you will be burning for the rest of the day. Abs. Let's go into the ab accessory movements. In this exercise, we're going to focus on lifting our legs towards our torso by initiating the movement through our lower abs. We want to breathe out on the way up, and then as we get to parallel, we want to push our hips up like I do here, and then slowly lower down. That eccentric is what's going to build your ab strength, and it's going to help in growing them as well. Make sure you can do these movements slow and controlled. In a hanging knee raise, we are just simply raising our knees as close as we can to our chest. We want to try and initiate the movement with our core rather than using a lot of momentum. Make sure we breathe out on the way up. Similar to the knee raise, this time with your legs straight as possible. Remember to initiate the movement with your trunk, your lower abs, and then try and limit the amount of movement at your hips. Focus on moving those legs towards your chest. In this toe to bar variation, we have to ensure that we limit the amount of motion of the trunk and focus on initiating the movement with our lower abs. Try and touch the toes onto the bar. In the hanging oblique twist, we are trying to move our right knee over to our left side and our left knee over to our right side. Make sure you breathe out when you raise your knees up and breathe in on the way down. This is a challenging exercise, but really effective in hitting the side of the abs. In the cable crunch, we want to think of trying to get our elbows or tuck our whole chest into between our legs. Make sure you breathe out on the way down and really tuck in, and then control it on the way up, and then again really tuck in. In the cable woodchopper, we are going to be rotating at our hips and trying to move our right hip behind our left hip. This is going to help target the side of the abs. Make sure you breathe out when you rotate and breathe in on the way back. We want to make sure you control the cable on the way back, because that's when the largest stimulus happens. In the Russian twist, we are going to have a med ball with your legs up on the floor. We're going to be rotating at the hips, not the arms, the hips as far as you can go, and breathing out and breathing in correspondingly during the movement. Make sure you keep your feet up in the air and you control the movement. Now we're going to be doing that same movement on a decline bench. Again, make sure you go full range of motion, rotate at the hips as far as you can, and then repeat it on the other side. Make sure you use those with that waist or your hips, not your arms, because then you won't rotate as far as you can go. With the plate crunch on the decline, we want to perform a crunching movement, trying to crunch at our core and then at the same time moving the plate to the air. This is a great exercise in targeting those upper abs. Now with the crunch and twist now, with the plate as we rise up towards the top, as we get to the top, we want to twist at each side. So we twist on the right side and we go down and we twist on the left side. Make sure you breathe out when you come up and breathe in on the way down. This is a really challenging exercise, but I love it because it gets all sides of the core working. Now with the kettlebell crunch, we're going to be forming the crunch again, but we're going to be raising one arm up and then keeping the other one in free space. This creates some instability, but also a great exercise for the upper abs. Make sure you breathe out on the way up and breathe in on the way down. In the kick through exercise to target our obliques, this is more of a complex exercise, but as we plant our right arm, we get a kick through our right leg and then correspondingly on the other side. Really think about twisting at the hip to activate your oblique muscles. Thank you for tuning in to my core and ab exercise tutorial video. I know these ab exercises can be really complex, but they are really effective in improving the size of your abs, the strength of your abs, and the appearance of them. So please watch them as many times as you want and keep doing that. Check out my lower body exercise tutorial video, such as hip thrusts in this video, or check out my traps exercise tutorial video where I show you how to properly train your traps. Have a great day and I'll catch you later.